Alright, greetings gods and goddesses in training. Welcome back to the channel. It is Uncle Makura, all relations. Today we're speaking about the idea that you are an unfolding project. You are actually a process, okay? You are actually a practice. You are a practice pretending that you are a person. Now I got these downloads after listening to an interview with Ido Portal, who was talking a little bit about this topic. But before that, I really want to emphasize a couple of just epiphanies that I've been getting very recently. The number one is that your mindset has to remain fluid. Never think that the mind is set on a very specific thing. I used to say this before and earlier. Your mindset is set, right? It has to be set somewhere, and it doesn't change, right? However, I've noticed the most adaptable minds ever are not trapped by their past thought forms, right? They're not trapped by all of the gunk of the past anymore. They're fresh and alive and in this moment. So that's number one to understand. Number two, as an epiphany, is to thank my organs, thank my cells. It's almost like if you worked in a giant corporation and you were never acknowledged, right? Never appreciated. You would leave that job, right? You would stop working hard and so forth. But what if you got an employer, you know, or somebody who really spoke to you with kindness, really gave you that gratitude? How would you experience that, right? And what would that experience be like for you? So life is a school. It's not a destination. Life is an opportunity to transcend and transform ourselves, right? And I think a lot of us forget this because we start paying so much attention to the external world that it takes away from our inner experience. But actually, if you can start your days off with a meditation. A little while ago, after having lunch, I tuned myself into a meditation that really helped me to create much more expansiveness in my field, right? And so that's the first understanding, that your practice equals your life equals your practice. Practice doesn't mean this is what you do sometimes, okay? You are the practice, you are the process, and it's always shifting, it's always changing, right? Because clearly the evolution process is like that, right? What used to work in the past for me is not going to work for me now. Once you understand that you're a river, right, unfolding, you are a river already in flow, right? You are pure awareness, abundance, and freedom. Once you understand this, you can take your desire and sharpen it towards an intention and flow alongside it. Now the present is untouchable, but the past and future is kind of like a movie in our minds, right? The past is like a replayable film, and the future is like a projected film. But the present moment is ungraspable, and that is where your practice lives. It's in that pocket of the now. I have a brain that is wired more towards variety and novelty, okay? So I cannot be doing the same exercises every day, the same things every day. I have to switch it up, and my body understands that. My body and mind are a team, with the spirit being the bridge, the interface, and together, you know, they can all work together to create some great outcome. So we are a product of our imagined futures and our memories. And yes, this helps us to orient in time and space, of course. But the thing is, it also imprisons us. Right now in this phase, I'm noticing all my past memories, traumas, and different things. I'm becoming more highly attuned, more hypersensitive in my psychic senses, and being able to perceive and kind of release through tears all of this gunk that's been coming up, like bubbling up on the surface, right? So when you try this process, right, you'll understand why flow state is so powerful. Because let's say if you say, I love painting, right? Notice how much joy you feel saying that. If that's the truth and you really love painting, like it fills you with life, right? Expansive energy, you want to do things with that energy and so forth. Then also try saying, I am a painter. Now you have to carry the ego of the painter, the burden of the painter, right? And it kind of lowers your vibration when you say that, doesn't it? So one raises your vibration when you're saying, I love painting. But if you're classifying yourself as a painter, it's lowering your vibration. Why is that? Right? Because identification suffocates our imagination. Self-delusion is not simple. We are the one lying. We are the lie itself, and we are also the one being lied to. And when you start investigating yourself, the maze gets even more complex because you're the one building it while trying to escape it. So question even the basics, right? Maybe these assumptions that are coming up for you are part of your lie. Practice equals discovering the price of imagination and how much of your experience is constructed. So the aim isn't to drop out of life, it's to become more observant of life, to engage deeper with reality while still functioning and being capable in this world, right? So you're not rowing upstream, trying to control the river. You're just staying afloat on top of the water, and you're remaining awake and alert so you can adjust the sails. Achievements reinforce illusion, because when success keeps working for you, you don't stop and ever question the operating system. Eventually, your rewards will stop kind of scratching that itch, and then there'll be a new seeing, right? Because right now there's a collapse of old structures, right? The old world is dying and the new earth is being formed right now. So shift from this egoic mentality of I have to be the best, I have to win all the time, I have to get the outcome, right? It's all from pressure. It's all from ego, mind, identity, right? Instead, what if you said, I sharpen my sword, I refine my craft, right? I tend conditions. And this becomes how you relate to doing, right? Not what you achieve. And truly interesting goals are actually impossible and improbable. But it's not about that difficulty, grind, hustle culture. The real key here is to engage without the expectation of that reward, right? To get towards this outcome independence, right? So it's doing without doing and practicing without a damn reason. Why do you practice that? Just because it's me. That's who I am, right? And I'm not saying your practices are like just your routine, your day-to-day, like, you know, oh, I did some breath work today, and oh, I went to the gym, oh, I did this, oh, I did that, okay? No, this is a continuous process. So observe the patterns of your whole day and notice your process. What is it that shifts your mood? What is it that lowers your mood? What is it that makes you move into something that you're really passionate about? What is it that takes you away and distracts you, right? Knowing this and having this awareness, you'll be able to fine-tune this thing, this inner machine, right? Modern grind culture always ties suffering to a reward, okay? So resilience, self-improvement, success, right? But if you just sit in suffering, you can find discovery, right? So pure practice does not have a reason. That's its power, right? It's autotelic in terms of the flow state, which means it's a reward by itself. Why do you play the guitar? Because you love it. There's no reason. You don't need a reason. If you start coming up with a reason, like I have to move to this country, and then I have to get into that record label, and then I have to, you know, find my way through the politics of that arena, and like kind of climb the corporate ladder, right? To become the assistant to the main musician who works there, and then try to, you're overcomplicating it. That would have already happened if you would have just loved playing the guitar. You wouldn't deal with that nonsense, bureaucracy, external world garbage, right? Of course, all that stuff is there, but you're still showing up because you have a different energy to you. So your practice, I don't want you to think of this is attached to this earthly realm. Okay? This is ethereal. Your practice is multidimensional, okay? Your practice shouldn't be tied to any worldly goals, okay? Oh, I'm trying to get a six-pack, that's why I'm going to the gym. But it can empower you in the world because it's coming from somewhere else. Your ideas, your imagination, like all that stuff is not here in the physical. So physicality is totality. The mind versus body Cartesian split is a complete farce. It's a conceptual trick. Thoughts, emotions, nervous system are all physical. Heavy thinking, heartbreak, fear, they all show up in the body, in the heart rate, in the sweat, in the breath. And physical practice exposes how fragile your mental stability actually is. So this is interesting to what he mentioned. Ito was saying that homeostasis or equanimity, balance, right, is not a single point, but it's a range, okay? When you think of it as a range, the game shifts, okay? Homeostasis. So a practice isn't just about staying regulated. You must exit your comfort band to evolve, right? And then form a newer, wider homeostasis. But if you cling to the equanimity, I must have balance, it becomes like the last spiritual escape hatch, right, before the real transformation begins. So real equanimity is you have peace, but you still show up to life, right? We as human beings are suffering transmutation devices. We are the mechanisms of the transformations of suffering. So Ito was saying practice is how you take pain or chaos and metabolize it into something higher. And it's not just for you, it's for the collective, okay? And it's for the field around you. The ego is a functional process, right? Protection, orientation, ability to think, ability to shrink and expand, have an interface with others. But the problem is over-identification with the ego, okay? The clothes instead of the body wearing them. So we cling to my story, my past, because it feels very safe and familiar. But the true self, the one that is already one with God, it's a process, it's unfolding, it's a mystery, and that actually terrifies us. So we run back to our old narratives and we call it me, me, me. Ito said something very powerful. He said, I want to die as narrative and be reborn as the witness. The goal isn't monastic escape, it's to be the monk in the marketplace. Fully amidst your obligations, your relationships, but still operating from an empty, aware conduit. To be a clean and clear channel of your experience of life. So words are actually not harmless. Reality gave birth to language, but now language can distort and destroy reality. Because we put words and stories at the center, we live more in talk rather than in the experience of life. So once we have more non-verbal practice, it brings us back to the true self again. It's death by 1,000 innocent distractions, right? These micro distractions, Netflix, endless light entertainment, right? The opposite of love isn't hate, he said, it's indifference. And those distractions that you're going through breed your indifference. Responsibility is not just deciding once. It's practicing your way out of there, right? Responsibility is practicing your way out of your distractions. True transmission happens in a shared effort, right? Shared suffering, shared presence. Being in the same room, smelling the same sweat, feeling the vibe, moving together. That creates dynamics. So look at all the dimensions of things holding you back, right? It could be your age, laziness, fatigues, addictions, whatever it may be. I love this quote from him. Your life story is just a coping mechanism for your terror of being in an unfolding mystery. Isn't that amazing? Because social media gives you likes instead of meaning, but practice gives you meaning with 0 likes. So dissolve these kind of pedestal dynamics, right? Hone yourself, refine yourself, understand that you're this unfolding journey, this unfolding process. And the moment you're classifying yourself, separating yourself from others, trying to create hierarchies, trying to create different patterns and analysis and rules and laws and datums and doctrines, and as Sai Baba said, real teaching is communication. Okay, it's not teaching doctrines. So once you understand that you are the cause, you are this whole experience happening, and it's not just about getting on a yoga mat, like that is the expression of you connecting back to your truth, back to you again, right? To dispel yourself from the noise of the external world so you can center yourself from that pure awareness, from that flow state that just keeps emerging and cascading like an endless river through all of eternity. Okay, let's get it today. Upward Spiral Gang, may we never be the same again. Peace.